Good afternoon. On behalf of Superintendent Hoffmeister and the Office of School Support and Instruction, I'd like to welcome you to this webinar. I am Brook Meiller, Executive Director of the Office of School Support and Improvement. Today we're going to discuss your ATSI designation and how to use the Oklahoma 9 essential elements to identify needs of subgroups. At the center of our work in school improvement is the belief that all students can grow and all schools can improve. All students deserve instruction focused on their growth, and all schools, including high-achieving schools, must be in a continuous process of improvement to keep up with changing student needs and evidence-based practices. The Office of Accountability used the Oklahoma School Report Card to designate schools. All of these indicators work together for overall report card grades, but we also look at individual indicators to identify areas of need within our schools and across the state. That's why the letter you received in June identified a subgroup and perhaps one or more of these indicators as showing that that subgroup was not performing. The Every Student Succeeds Act, or ESSA, as we refer to the federal law, designates three kinds of schools: comprehensive support and improvement, which we refer to as CSI, targeted support and improvement, which we refer to as TSI, and additional targeted support and improvement, which we refer to as ATSI. So let me tell you about these three different kinds of designations. The comprehensive support and improvement, or CSI schools, are identified as the 5% of the lowest performing schools based on overall report card grades. They also might be a high school with a graduation rate of 67% or below, or they might be a school that earned an F in all reportable indicators. And by that I mean they may not have all of the indicators in place, such as an early childhood center might not have the academic achievement and academic growth indicators, but they have the other indicators. And a school like that that might have earned an F in all of those reportable indicators would be on the CSI list. In terms of support from the State Department, our CSI schools are able to participate in professional development to create a continuous improvement plan. They are also assigned a school support specialist, and right now that is one specialist for every 12 CSI schools. So our school support specialists are able to provide quite a bit of consultation and support for those schools. They also receive improvement funds, $50,000 per year for their designation, and they have an opportunity to compete for some additional funds up to $200,000 per year. The CSI schools stay in this improvement cycle for 3 years. We currently have 101 designated CSI schools, and the Office of School Support has been working with them and working on their improvement plans since March. The TSI schools, or targeted support and improvement schools, are designated because one subgroup is performing at the same level as the lowest 5% of schools on 2 or more indicators over a 3-year period. So the TSI schools will not be designated until this current 2019 report card comes out, because then that will be based on 3 years of data, 2017, 2018, and 2019. The support they will receive is in terms of doing needs assessments with support from us, resource allocation review with support from us, and then regional professional development indicators, or regional professional development on the indicators of concern. The word subgroup refers to demographics of students, such as ethnicity, English learners, special education, etc. Kelly Otis is our current TSI director and is working to create resources for when those schools are designated. at the release of the report card later. The level of support and resources we'll be able to offer TSI schools will be based on the number of schools who receive this designation. So that takes us to the ATSI schools, which is why we're here this afternoon. So the ATSI schools have one subgroup that's performing at the same level as the lowest 5% of schools, and actually it may be one or more subgroups that are performing at that same level. Those have been designated currently, and the support that's being given for the ATSI schools is simply a notification that you have this particular subgroup that is performing as low as the lowest 5% of schools. Regardless of how the rest of your school is performing, we are notifying you of this subgroup that is of concern. We have provided that notification, but we'll also be providing several layers of support that I'll talk about a little bit later. And this is really helping schools be aware of how their subgroups are performing year to year. We currently have 352 schools designated as ATSI, and it's our intent to provide several layers of support. So the first layer of support you've actually already received, and that is simply providing you with easy access to the multitudes of resources on our OSDE website. You should have received an email in the last 2 weeks from me with links to these resources listed here so that you don't have to look for them on our website. The Offices of Accountability, Curriculum and Instruction, Family Engagement, and Special Education have all been working to create resources to support schools, and these links provide easy access to those resources. So you should already have that particular layer of support as an email to your superintendent. The second layer of support is to provide some learning opportunities which will occur throughout this school year. Today you're going to work through the 9 essential elements. Later in the fall we'll provide another webinar on equity of resource allocation. And then after the release of the new report card later this fall, we'll provide a third layer of support through regional face-to-face meetings where ATSI schools can bring a leadership team to work through the improvement process with help from the Office of School Support and Improvement. So step one in any improvement process is to identify local needs. The Oklahoma 9 essential elements are part of that process. The 9 essential elements are Oklahoma's framework of high-quality initiatives that support student achievement and help build capacity in schools. This graphic shows the 9 essential element framework, which we refer to as the 9 EEs. The OEE that you see in the boxes with numbers simply means Oklahoma Essential Elements. The 9 elements are grouped into 3 pillars of academic performance, learning environment, and collaborative leadership. Within the pillar of academic performance, schools consider curriculum that is rigorous, intentional, and aligned to state and local standards. Schools also consider classroom evaluation and assessment to see that the school uses multiple evaluation and assessment strategies and continuously monitor and modify instruction to meet student needs. And the third element in this pillar of academic performance is instruction. And that's ensuring that the faculty provides an instructional program that engages all students using effective, varied, and research-based practices. The second pillar is the learning environment, and this has numbers 4, 5, and 6 of the 9 essential elements. And that includes school culture, student, family, and community support, and professional growth, development, and evaluation. So in school culture, really looking at how the leadership team functions as an effective learning community and supports that climate that's conducive to excellence in student achievement. In student, family, and community support, we're looking at how we can bring families and community groups in to remove barriers to learning so that we can meet all the needs of our students. And professional growth development, and evaluation so that we know our staff has access to research-based, results-driven professional development and are able to implement evaluation procedures so that we can improve teaching and learning. The leadership pillar focuses on school and district leadership teams. And so we're really looking at not just the principal of a school or not just the superintendent of a district, but a leadership team that's made up of leaders within a school. So that team in the leadership angle is to provide instructional decisions, focusing on support for teaching and learning, and organizing the direction and the expectations within the school, creating that learning culture. The leadership pillar also focuses on organizational structure and resources so that we can maximize our resources and make sure that everything is in support of high quality performance of students and staff. And then finally, comprehensive and effective planning helps us develop, implement, and evaluate that comprehensive school improvement plan so that we can focus our efforts on teaching and learning. You received a document with all 9 essential elements on a one-pager in an email that I sent you earlier today. If you did not receive that email, I'll give you my information at the end of our discussion today, and I'll be sure to send that to you. You will recognize this as one of the documents you received in an email earlier from me today. It's difficult to focus improvement efforts on all 9 elements at once. So we developed a protocol to help you focus your effort. The protocol can help you understand each element and identify the extent to which that element is already in place as it pertains to subgroups in your school. So you can see as you look at the document that I sent you and on this screen as an example that each element is broken into its individual indicators, and at the top of each of those pages is a legend that tells you a 1 simply means this element does not exist in our school for our subgroup. A 2, some aspect of this element exists, but it's not systematic for all students. A 3 would be our school has developed a strategy to address this element, and we've made substantial progress towards full implementation. Or 4, this element is evident at our school, and we continually adjust the implementation plan to improve the element's impact on quality learning. I would suggest using this tool and grouping your teachers by grade level at elementary or by department at secondary, and provide time for the teachers to read each statement on these pages and rate each of those alone first. And I think that's very important for teachers to first read those statements and rate them based on what they feel internally before they have discussion. Then provide time and facilitate a way for them to discuss their ratings with one another, and within their group come to a consensus of the top 2 concerns for each of these elements so that they can focus some of their effort. Many of the indicators within the 9 elements are easy to think about as applying to all students. It will be a challenge for teachers to stop their thoughts from focusing on whole school and really focus in on the subgroup or subgroups that your school is designated for. For instance, Indicator 4.10, publicly celebrating student achievement. That one might challenge teachers to think about if that's true for the subgroup they're focused on, as opposed to true for the larger population of the school. And you will find many indicators as you read through all 9 of these elements. You'll see that many indicators are easy to think about whole school, oh yes, we've got that. But when we really ask ourselves, do we have that for the subgroup that we've been designated for? And that might be a different answer. It might not be, but you need to have the conversation of, does this truly apply to the subgroup for which we are designated? The goal of doing this assessment is to identify where you might have gaps for various groups of students and begin to move forward in closing those gaps. It's not just gaps in achievement, it's gaps in how the school works for our students. And these indicators of the 9 essential elements can help you get to that. So we've talked a little bit about a needs assessment in terms of Oklahoma's 9 essential elements, and that is part of identifying local needs. However, you can also bring together multiple measures of data so that you can get a complete picture of your school. So when we talk about other measures, some of those measures might be the Oklahoma School Testing Program scores for grades 3 through 8. It might be ACT and SAT scores for grade 11. It might be discipline referrals within your school. Could be attendance data of your students. Participation in rigorous courses. At the elementary level, it might be looking at the participation of subgroups in courses that not all students are in. For instance, it might be a pull-out gifted program. It might be a robotics program. It might be an advanced choir or an orchestra program, anything that's outside the norm. Look at your student subgroup participation in those courses. At the secondary school, it's a little bit easier to identify. You can look at those students who are enrolled in advanced placement or IB courses. Look at students who are enrolled in higher level math courses or in other courses that will help build those competencies of critical thinking and the college-bound skill building, and looking at the participation of your subgroups in those courses. And then finally, another indicator to look at for multiple measures of data would be family engagement, and looking at that not just whole school, but by your specific subgroup. Remember that the ATSI designation is based on one or more subgroups in your school who are performing at the same rate as the lowest performing 5% of schools in our state. You may be a high-performing school in terms of your overall report card grade, but the ATSI designation asks you to consider the isolated performance of one or more of your subgroups. We hope you will use the 9EE Needs Assessment Checklist and your own data to thoroughly examine the performance of your designated subgroup so you can address gaps in their access to and opportunity for high achievement. To date, our contacts for ATSI schools has been through email to the superintendent. Please contact me, Brook Meiller, at the email or phone number on the screen to add your name or the names of others who should be included in future contact. Again, my name is Brook Meiller. The email address is brook.meiller@sde.ok.gov. And our phone number here is 405-522-0285. We are happy to help with any questions or concerns that you might have. I'm looking at the chat box and I don't see any questions that have come in, but if you do have a question, be sure that you type that in now. I want to thank you for your time today. I know that it was short, but we also just wanted to show you that this is a resource you can use and a little bit about how to use it. We are absolutely happy to come out and work with you or work with you by phone or just help you roll out anything that you might be looking at to address the performance of your subgroups. Our phone number for the office here is 405-522-0140. The phone number I gave you before is directly to my office. Feel free to use either one of those numbers or to email me directly. I don't see that any questions have come in, so thank you for your time this afternoon. We look forward to future work with you.